And now we turn to a very newsworthy guest, the current counsel for President Trump, Jay Sekulow. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Ari. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Congress is considering impeaching President Trump for asking Ukraine to investigate a domestic rival, Joe Biden. As you know, the evidence shows, and Trump now admits he did that. So for starters, do you see this now as an impeachment debate where you basically agree on what happened, but your defense is that what happened is, in your view, okay?
It's two things. One is the House has still not moved to a formal impeachment proceeding. So I think, to be clear, Nancy Pelosi, when she had the press conference a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago now, said that, this is a more formal investigation. But the fact is they haven't taken it to the floor of the House. So the House has not instituted a impeachment proceeding. So that's number one. So nothing's really changed for the months we've been in, really, in this investigation. As to the issue of what was said, well, that's not in dispute because the transcript was released, which clearly shows what was said, at least the best transcript that was available regarding the phone call. And I find what's interesting now is
So the president wanted Ukraine to investigate Joe Biden.
The president said, why don't we stick to what he said in the transcript, where he said he was concerned about a number of things. The Biden reference and my colleague Rudy Giuliani's reference were about, if you were to sum it all up, about a minute and a half of that conversation. There's nothing there that rises to a level of an impeachable offense.
Well, we're going to get to that. I just want to start with figuring out what you acknowledge. Sure. And let me play for you.
I acknowledge the transcript.
You acknowledge the transcript.
That's what the evidence is.
That's one piece of evidence. There's also whistleblower evidence, and there's also the president's own words. Hold on. I'm going to let you get in, but let me play for you what your client said, because he added to the transcript by saying this.
What exactly did you hope Zelensky would do about the Biden after his phone call? Exactly.
Well, I would think that if they were honest about it, they'd start a major investigation into the Bidens.
So your client admits that goal, which is why I'm asking you, what the Congress is considering is whether that thing is impeachable. Do you concede that?
No, I don't think it's impeachable. I don't see where it's a high crime or misdemeanor. Tell me what rule, law, or statute's been violated by the president as commander-in-chief and as the chief executive under Article 2 of the United States Constitution violated any rule. You may not like the politics of it. You may not like the statement. But where does it violate a law? Where does this rise to the level of a high crime or misdemeanor? And then I know you'll say we're going to get to the whistleblower, but
we are going to get to the whistleblower. No, we are going to get to the whistleblower because we're not there yet.
Go ahead.
You're asking about whether there's a statutory violation. As you know, what the founders did was write in the idea that you could have high crimes and misdemeanors. You want to point to statutes. That's not required, but it is unlawful. Hold on, and then I'll let you respond, sir. It is unlawful to solicit or receive any foreign help, which includes things of value. So if you want a statute, I've got it up on the screen, that's not even required. The other thing I want to ask you, and
I'll let you get the whistleblower. Hold it. Okay, go ahead.
I want to ask you something, and I'm going to give you time.
Yeah.
If Donald Trump didn't do anything wrong in this Ukraine plot, why did he deny it and keep shifting the defense?
He hasn't denied it. He said he released the transcript. That's what's interesting here. Let's take a very quick trip down memory lane.
Go ahead.
First, it was going to be there was a quid pro quo. Then the transcript comes out. There's no quid pro quo. Then it was going to be there was a cover up. But then there was no cover up because the transcript was released. Then Adam Schiff said, my staff, we didn't talk to this whistleblower. Then we find out he did talk to the whistleblower. Then Adam Schiff has a hearing. And in the hearing, instead of reading from the transcript, he makes something up.
Let me get in here and say to you.
I'm just trying to let me please finish the sentence.
Go ahead.
I think that we have to do is look at the evidence. And the evidence, to me, very clearly establishes that there is no high crime or misdemeanor and that this is political theater.
Well, I think you're entitled to that view, and I think you're going to wage that debate. And you may ultimately win in the Senate if it gets there. What I raised right now, what I have to fact check you on is the president did deny it, as did his aides in real time. And so that does go, as you know, as a lawyer, to wait, hold on. That go, I'm going to show it to you and let you respond. But that goes, as you know, as his lawyer, to a awareness of guilt. Now, I'm going to play for you the president and then Mark Lauder on this very program saying he didn't admit what I just already showed, which is that there was a request to investigate the Bidens. Take a look first at the president.
Now, when you see the call, if you see it, I hope you see it, frankly, you will find out that I did not do that at all. And you'll be very disappointed when you see it.
And then we had Mark Lauder, who works in the 2020 campaign for the president's reelection. And he initially told us it also was not this Biden plot. Take a look. You're telling me today you're not looking for foreign help, but the Ukraine call notes, even before you get to the whistleblower, have the president saying, do me a favor, go after a domestic rival, Joe Biden.
That is not what the transcript says, and you know better than that, Ari. He says, go do me a favor, look into corruption, look into the incidents that were detailed in the 2016 election meddling.
Why deny this, which is charitable, or lie, which is what your critics are saying today? Why have these people lie about this and then go on and admit it? I give you your response.
Ari, here's my response. We released the transcript, and the transcript speaks for itself. And here's the problem. You put up on the screen a few moments ago that the violation that you're going to talk about impeachment on is an interpretation of an FEC, Federal Election Commission law, regarding something of value, when the special counsel, who everybody forgets he even existed now, came to the conclusion that that information, if it was ever obtained, would not constitute value. So this is, again, everybody forget, they only want to remember the parts of Bob Mueller that you want to remember, which, by the way, nobody's remembering too much of that, I have to say, these days. And why is that? Because this idea that this is a violation of an FEC rule and you're going to impeach the president of the United States on a contorted interpretation of an FEC regulation, I don't think that rises to high crime.
So look, and this is why it's useful to hear what your defense is. Part of your defense is the position that he can, in the light of day, get foreign help in the campaign, and you're saying that shouldn't be illegal. That's your position. I want to ask you something about the lawyers. That's
not what I said, by the way, but go ahead.
I want to ask you something about the lawyers. You're a lawyer for Donald Trump, correct?
Yes, in private capacity, yes.
Is Rudy Giuliani a lawyer for Donald Trump right now?
He is.
And so when you see Rudy Giuliani go out there in this manner, is he helping the president in your view?
I think he is, because I'll tell you what he's doing. He's getting out there the facts that he knows more about than anyone else. And that is, Rudy Giuliani knows more about what was going on in Ukraine than anybody on these committees know. And I think that's just fact. So what Rudy Giuliani is doing is putting forward a position to defend his client. And that's why he was involved in this in the first place. That's what he said publicly. And that was out of my jurisdiction. It wasn't anything I was engaged in. But I understand what he has said, and I think he is representing his client. And as you know, as a lawyer, you do that zealously.
You're saying you weren't engaged in it. When did you learn that Rudy Giuliani was asking these foreign governments to investigate Joe Biden?
I learned when you did, because I was not involved. That was not in my jurisdiction.
Well, you don't know when I did. As you remember. So I'm asking you when you did. You don't know when I learned it.
Well, I didn't know anything about it until all this got really public. I mean, I didn't know any of this Joe Biden
when
Ukraine.
It spilled into the public reporting?
Yeah, because my engagement, as you remember, was involved with the whole Bob Mueller, Russia, collusion, obstruction nonsense. That's what I dealt with. So what Rudy was doing in regard to his aspect of this concern of Ukraine, or how this investigation started, that was his team, that was his folks, wasn't me. But I don't think what he did is the violation of any law, rule, or regulation either.
Understood.
I think he had the right to do it in representing his client.
And what I'm hearing from you today, and what viewers are hearing, so they get all sides of this, is that you think the facts are ultimately on your side. If that's true,
I do.
If the facts and the evidence are on your side, let me put up on the screen all of the different individuals who have been stonewalling the Congress in this investigation. Because you have, in the Mueller side, you have Don McGahn and Mulvaney. Then you have Pompeo and Barr and Pence. The list goes on here. And the question becomes, why stonewall these subpoenas if you think the evidence helps you?
First of all, stonewall is a loaded word. There are constitutional privileges that exist. You know that very well, including executive privilege, including deliberative privilege, and you don't waive that because it does. Hold on.
You got on my word choice, Jay.
Hold it.
You want me to get us the source? Why withhold the evidence? Forget Stonewall. Why withhold the evidence if it helps you?
Because it affects not only it doesn't affect this case. It affects the office of the presidency of the United States. You do not waive willy-nilly executive privilege. That's like waiving attorney-client privilege. Would you waive attorney-client privilege, Ari? You're a lawyer. Would you waive it? If your client said, I want to assert attorney-client privilege,
if I come on your program, I'll do an interview with you. But you're doing an interview with me, sir.
No. We're friends. I'm trying to say, you've got valid constitutional statutory privileges involved here. You don't just waive them. And to make that if I exercise my constitutional privilege, I'm now violating, an obstruction of Congress. That's absurd. Really absurd. And dangerous, by the way, for American citizens.
And you get
really dangerous for the attorney-client privilege.
You've got the time to make your case. Final question, sir.
Thank you.
When
Appreciate
the president,
it. Yes,
final question, when the president advocates the unmasking of this whistleblower, does that not violate federal law?
Well, it's not a question of the unmasking of the whistleblower. It's the real question is the whistleblower's testimony, which cannot be cross-examined, going to be the basis upon which an impeachment allegation comes out? Are you going to have it where the witness cannot be cross-examined by the lawyers? Because under the House procedures right now, we don't get to ask a question of that whistleblower, and that could serve as a basis for impeachment. I think that violates something else. It's called due process. Jay
Sekulow, previewing some of the arguments you would make. I appreciate you coming on the beat, sir.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, I'm Ari Melber from MSNBC. You can see more of our videos right here, or better yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel below. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that.